What's going on, bottom line viewers? For another week of an NFL review, reaction, recap of the action in the NFL over the past week. This time just so happens that we are going to review in depth Super Bowl 55. I know I did my initial reaction, but I wanted to look over some things, look over some films, some everything, just kind of corral my thoughts and give you a full breakdown review of Super Bowl 55, as well as a look ahead to 2021, because as you guys know, 2021, the NFL season, we are now in 2021 mode. It's here, guys. The offseason's coming up, free agency's around the corner, the draft, we have to start prepping for that. So all the content moving past this video, after this video, is going to be about the next season in the NFL, breaking down the entirety, all 32 teams. But I wanted to make this bottom line about the Super Bowl and really breaking it down and looking at both sides of the football for you football geeks out there, talking about all the storylines that come out of this game, because of course this was one of the most anticipated Super Bowls of all time, and it did not live up to the hype because one team did not show up. But I want to actually talk about what happened in the game, how it happened, and overall, give you a full breakdown of the Super Bowl, man. I think this was a game that many people were wrong about, and I think because of that, it deserves a full analysis and a full proper breakdown. So before I give you my thoughts on Super Bowl 55, how Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense dismantled Patrick Mahomes in the biggest moment, how Tom Brady absolutely ripped apart Steve Spagnuolo in the Super Bowl. Before I do that, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos just like this. So, guys, I'm, of course, happy of the result of the Super Bowl. I know some of you are not. Hopefully, Chiefs fans are around for this video so they can learn too. Because I feel like when you lose a game, you kind of got to learn where you lose. And if you're a Chiefs fan, you should want to know how your team can get better. Because I think if you want to win next year, you have to learn how you can overcome these things and how the Chiefs can continue to move forward and go for another championship. Because we know the Chiefs, they're favored currently in Vegas to win in 2021, to win that Super Bowl 55. But if they don't do some things and fix some things from the Super Bowl, they're never going to get there. So let's talk about all of it. And I'm sure Tampa Bay fans are still just pumped with excitement. You have your parade tomorrow, so congratulations for you guys. If you're in Tampa, hopefully you have fun at the parade. Hopefully you have a good time. Take some pictures, take some video. If you are going to the parade and you're from Tampa, please send me some videos or some photos. If you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Mitch Milani. Send me all the pictures, send me the videos. If you're in the Discord and you're a Bucs fan, let me know. I know we have some Bucs fan that follow this channel, of course, so make sure you do send me those videos because I'm looking forward to it, from the outside looking in, just seeing the parade and seeing the excitement in Tampa because I know you guys are pretty rowdy out there. I don't know how it's going to be with the whole COVID situation. I don't know how that's really going to work out, but I'm sure it's going to be fun regardless. So have fun with that. Those things are probably the best part about your team winning. If you're in the city, the parade, I mean, how can you do better than that? And for those of you that have never experienced it or have never experienced your team winning anything, you'll get there eventually. Hold on your hope. We're going to break down the 2021 season. Hopefully your team can win then, and we'll talk about how they can get there, of course, throughout the offseason. But again, guys, this video is about Super Bowl 55. So make sure you do Gronk spike that like button, and let's waste no more time. Let's get into it. So the 2020 season is officially over. And before we get to I think some riveting headlines here that I'm going to talk about. Why I believe Patrick Mahomes deserves more criticism than he's been getting from the mainstream media. Why Tom Brady, I think, did more than people realize just watching the game. And why I believe Tampa could potentially repeat, as well as what Kansas City needs to do to win the Super Bowl next year. I'm going to talk about all those things and more. The offense of the Chiefs versus the defense of the Bucs. The offense of the Bucs versus the Chiefs defense. Going to break that down. But before we do, I posted a video about my tiers entering 2021. So already looking ahead to the 2021 NFL season. How do I feel about each team? Where would I place them? Are they a bottom tier team? Are they an elite contender? Are they a middling team? Are they in the hunt? Like, I placed every team on a certain level of where I feel they are going to be. So if you haven't already checked that video out, go check that video out. Go check that breakdown out, because I do spend a little bit of time on each team giving you my initial thoughts on them entering free agency and entering the season. Now, some of the teams I project, it was often hard to project a lot of the teams that don't currently have a quarterback or are in quarterback shambles right now. So those were the more difficult teams to figure out. But for a lot of those teams, I was really fascinated with their direction. And I'm fascinated with all teams and what they're going to do this offseason, but in particular, a few of them. So go check that one out if you're interested to see where I really have your team entering this offseason and how I feel about your team right now at this moment. So not only did I give the thoughts of basically what I thought about your team, but also you could find on Instagram, if you follow us on Instagram at TheBottomLineView, you'll find the thoughts of Ultra. So guys, if you're not already following us on Instagram, go check out Ultra's top 10 teams entering 2021, the way too early rankings. Ultra's 2021, way too early top 10. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find Ultra's top 10 and go check it out. Go comment your opinion on that. I'm not going to break it down here because I want to spend most of the time on the Super Bowl, but you could find that top 10 over there. I think it's a pretty good list. We went through it. That's kind of the consensus of how we feel here at the Bottom Line View and how we feel the best teams, the top contending teams heading into 2021. I know that there were some other way too early rankings, like from NFL.com, ESPN, and so on, that were quite disrespectful towards the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that's kind of where I want to start with things, okay? I actually want to start with all the Brady haters who have been doubting this guy, since he left Tom in New England to going to Tampa Bay and that whole transition. I know a lot of people weren't a fan of it, or they thought it wouldn't work, or they thought he'd fall off the cliff, or they thought, it would be 7-9. I mean, you guys wouldn't believe now the comments that I got back in March, in May, in June, in July, in August, even up to December, guys. I got so many negative comments talking about Tampa Bay. You wouldn't even believe, and I feel like those same sentiments still follow them today, even though right now they are Super Bowl champions. It's absolutely ridiculous to me, the takes that some of these people do have. I mean, holy crap. Are you kidding me with some of these takes on the Tampa Bay Bucs and that Super Bowl? So where I want to start is with a little apology form to Tom Brady. That's where I want to start, all right? So we have the Tom Brady apology form. Okay, so if you are a Tom Brady hater, I suggest you print this apology form out, and I suggest you go to work. Okay, this is your homework from Mitch of the Bottom Line View. So you need to check a box, of course, say who it's from. Okay, make sure Tom knows who you are. First and last name, middle name if you like as well. Please leave the date. Currently it is February 9th, 2021. So please do leave the date. Also, you need to check the reason for the behavior. So why are you a Brady hater? Why do you need to apologize to Tom Brady? Okay, so check the right box? Are you a fan of an AFC East team? In this case, your name might be Durkant. Were you tired of seeing him win? Okay, you might be most of the people in the world. A couple of bad games at age 43. I know my boy Lenny said that he was one of those people, so he would check that box. You don't know football, which is probably nobody watching this video right now, but some of the people that will eventually comment on this video, you know who I'm talking to right now. Some of those guys we brought up on this show in the comments section. We've had them here on the channel before. If you don't know football, check that box, okay? Peyton Manning fan. If you've cheered for the Broncos, if you've cheered for the Colts, you probably hate Tom Brady. So you could check that box. Then you look at thought he'd be retired by now. Honestly, I myself need to check that box. So even though I'm a huge Tom Brady fan and not a Brady hater whatsoever, I apologize for Tom Brady for thinking he would be retired at this point in his career. So I will check that box and send it to his address. You also need to check that I will hereby respect Tom Brady and I will not talk down to the GOAT. So you must go through with this whole thing, check the box, you know the drill, all right? That is the apology form, so please do that before we continue on with these festivities. All right, let's go. So there you go, the Tom Brady apology form. If you have not already apologized to Tom Brady, I'm sure every single one of you out there at one point has doubted Tom Brady, whether that was back when he was in college, his early career, his middle of his career, the later career, or even now. Please apologize to the GOAT. All right, so that's just how I wanted to start the show. A little fun there. We had the Ultra Top 10 teams. We have more people coming in now for the live show. So make sure you guys go check out Ultra's Top 10. He spent some time on that. It's on Instagram. You guys can follow us on the Insta at TheBottomLineView. Make sure to follow us there because we're going to have a ton of free agency stuff on the Instagram as we get into the middle of free agency and all these guys start being signed. You're going to want to follow the Instagram. Okay, so first topic for today. Before we get to the Super Bowl, I wanted to quickly address this one thing, which is Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz to Indianapolis. So there was some rumors floating out there that potentially Matt Ryan could be traded to Indianapolis. I heard earlier this offseason that that wasn't going to happen. Well, I guess they changed their mind, or maybe Philadelphia, maybe Indy, maybe Atlanta have been in the works for quite some time. They've been keeping it on the hush-hush. Maybe Atlanta said, you know what? Maybe we should look into trading Matt Ryan after Matthew Stafford went for what he went for. That might be the reason why, right? So Atlanta is probably in the process right now, if they haven't already been through this process, of evaluating their own team, evaluating where they're at, evaluating how they feel what they have at the quarterback position and what they have in Matt Ryan. And they've probably seen a quarterback like me or like some of you out there that see him as a pretty good quarterback, borderline top 10 guy. He's not quite elite. He's basically what he's been for most of his career. He hasn't really fallen off much, but he has a couple years left. And Atlanta is trying to analyze and trying to really understand if they're going to be able to get a championship roster with Matt Ryan within the next couple of years. Most likely they feel as if that's not going to happen, but they could feel that they could be competitive with Matt Ryan, which would be the reason they keep him. But what is the potential that they could get a big sum, a big load of picks back from him? Or at least, a good portion of picks. Maybe they could get a first and a second, or a first, an earlier first. Because you look at what Stafford went for, and I understand the Goff thing throws a wrench into it because that deal looked a lot larger than I think it would have been if it was just Stafford to the Rams for picks. It probably wouldn't have included 2 firsts, right? But I think that you could probably get a first-round pick right now for Matt Ryan and start your rebuild. So when I look at both of these quarterbacks, I think Matt Ryan is substantially better than Carson Wentz. I see Carson Wentz as not just a guy that I don't love at the quarterback position, but also a guy that I just don't love in general. I don't love the leadership. I don't love the attitude. I don't love what he brings to your team. Here's the problem I have with Carson Wentz. When all of your teammates across the board say that they like Nick Foles more than you, that is a problem, okay? When you were the MVP of the league, arguably, and 2 months later, guys are going on podcasts talking about how Nick Foles played better or Nick Foles was the better quarterback for the team. He got more out of the team. I have a problem with Carson Wentz, even though I don't know him from Adam, okay? I don't know the guy. I'll probably never meet him. But here's the thing. When this many players and this many stories come out about one quarterback, there must be a problem, okay? I don't need to know the guy when there's multiple sources coming out. Where there's smoke, there is fire with Carson Wentz. I would stay as far away from Carson Wentz as humanly possible. If any team wants to trade for Carson Wentz, I think they're flat out crazy, okay? And that includes my Patriots. I will be devastated if my Patriots, you can record this right now, do whatever you got to do. If my Patriots get Carson Wentz, I will be devastated. Devastated. I think the guy is overrated. I think from both perspectives, I think he stunk last year, and he's really only had one great season with a phenomenal supporting cast. Outside of that, the guy has mostly been average to sucky, okay? Using 5-year-old language. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. He's not, elite. He's not a guy that's known to be this great leader. But what he is, he's a hard worker. He's obviously a proven veteran. He's a good teammate. Seems to be a nice guy. He's been there. He's done that. He's won games. He's won individually awards as well, MVP awards. He's proven that in the right system, he can thrive. He can give you a ceiling. So with Matt Ryan, he is just like such a better option. It's not even funny. If the guy is on the market and I'm the Colts, I'm not even thinking about Carson Wentz. I get it. Frank Reich, he did some good things with Carson Wentz, but forget it. What if you could do that with Carson Wentz? I just think the guy mentally is too fragile. I don't care what you think about the guy physically. If you guys think, even if you think the guy's John Elway, Brett Favre, I don't care, okay? He is fragile in the brain, okay? You just see it repeatedly. I mean, week after week, game after game, it just feels like Carson Wentz this past season was deteriorating before our eyes. I saw some plays that I've never seen before from quarterbacks in a bad way. This guy's running backwards 15 yards, throwing the ball up in the air. It's getting intercepted. He's getting stripped. He's getting sacked multiple times. His slow processing is brutal. I can't with Carson Wentz. I can't. The guy wears a damn Army arm sleeve. I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? If my quarterback wears an Army arm sleeve, I'm just going to give up. I don't know what to tell you. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, yes, the guy doesn't have the greatest haircut in the world, but we can get him a new barber. We cannot get Carson Wentz a new brain, okay? Matt Ryan has the brain. He can still physically perform. I think he's actually better than you would think physically at this point. He is a good processor. He can pick up any offense. You have the offensive line in Indianapolis to protect him. You need to work on the weapons in Indy. I think the thing is, everyone's saying, oh, the Colts are going to be this contender with a quarterback, bro. No, okay? No. They need a receiver. They need a receiver. If the Colts get Matt Ryan and a receiver, they'll be a contender. But it's two parts. They also need a receiver, especially when you consider that T.Y. Hilton's getting old, guys. T.Y. Hilton's getting old. So they need a number one wide receiver, whether that's through free agency, through the draft. Their target should be trade for Matt Ryan, get a receiver, and then we can talk about contender. Then we can talk about Super Bowl, okay? But until they do those two things, if they get Carson Wentz, I guarantee you right now, I don't care how good their team is. I'm not picking them to go to the damn playoffs. You can forget it. Again, Army arm sleeve, I'm not having it, okay? So, Matt Ryan, go with the guy with the bad haircut over the guy with the damaged brain. That is the underline of the segment. That's all I'm going to tell you. You can decide for yourself. $4.99 from You Wish. Thank you, man. He says, you think maybe a possible trade with Matt Ryan, Watson with Atlanta, giving up a couple of draft picks, sort of like Matthew Stafford. I could see that happening. I think if Houston is desperate and gets to the point where, oh my God, we got to make a move, man, then I feel like it's possible. I honestly feel right now that Houston's honestly probably going to keep him right now. Like, that's kind of what it feels like in Deshaun Watson. But I feel like Deshaun would want to go to Atlanta. I know he likes the city there, and I think he would like the offense and the weapons he's got there. I think he'd feel safe in that infrastructure, that they're going to do something. So I think Atlanta would be a team that Watson would feel comfortable with getting traded there. I like that destination for him. If it's Matt Ryan, 2 firsts, maybe even 3 firsts, right? It's going to take a lot to get him. But Matt Ryan, 2 firsts potentially, 2 firsts and a second, something like that, I think would get it done. The question is it worth it if you're Atlanta, right? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. If you're going to trade Matt Ryan anyways, it's probably worth it. But because you're gonna have to find a quarterback at the end of the day regardless. If Carson Wentz gets traded to the damn Patriots, I will lose my mind. Lose my mind. Okay. Let's talk about the Super Bowl, guys, because that's why you're here. If you haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button. I don't think Matt Ryan would want to go to Houston, but would he really have a choice if the Texans were just like, hey, we're going to give you Deshaun Watson? Is Atlanta really going to be like, yo, Ultra, what do you think? Does Matt Ryan want to go there? Like, I think it's really up to Watson. I get your point. I don't think Atlanta will just treat Matt Ryan like some bum. They'll definitely try to put him somewhere where he can succeed. I agree with that. But I do feel Watson comes above Matt Ryan's need to go to a good team. Because, let's be honest, Matt Ryan has had a lot of opportunities to win in this league already. You know, his career is almost over. So, that's just the way I look at it. All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not sure if you guys heard anything yet. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a Super Bowl. But you know what? It's funny because you would think they didn't win a single thing based on their reaction. Tom Brady won his 7th ring. Levante David, Devin White, Ndamukong Suh, his 1st ring. JPP, his 2nd. Mike Evans won a ring finally. Chris Godwin won a ring. Gronk won his 4th. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Bruce Arians, 1st ring of his career, probably moves him into the Hall of Fame. That discussion will be later on this show. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers won a Super Bowl, yet nobody cares. I'm just throwing that out there. Everything has been discussed about the Chiefs. Mahomes this. Mahomes toe. The Chiefs didn't show up. It was the refs. The refs were the reason we lost 31-9. It's like the Bucs don't exist. What's going on here? This just in, people have yet to give Tampa any credit. I tweeted this out. I listened to 3 post-game podcasts after the Super Bowl, because I was like, man, I'm excited. Tampa won the Super Bowl. Brady, awesome, cool. I tune into these podcasts. I don't want to give any names. I tune into these podcasts. What happens? All they're talking about is how the Chiefs blew it. Bro, Talk about the team that won the game. It's the same thing that I talked about on the broadcast. The whole time, Tony Romo is talking about, oh, Jim, they could come back. It's 31-9. And Tony Romo's sitting there saying, Jim, here's the drive. We got 4 minutes left. Bro, Tom Brady just won 7 rings and nobody cared. I don't know. Is it just me? I feel like this should be a little bit bigger of a deal than just like the way it's been treated. It's almost like people have just stopped recognizing what just happened, what just unfolded. It's almost like people wanted the Chiefs to win so badly that when they didn't win, all they could talk about was how the Chiefs lost the game and not how Tampa won the game. Because believe it or not, the Chiefs did not lose this game. The Bucs won this game, guys. The Bucs didn't just win. They dominated this game. They dismantled this opponent they had. You know what's crazy, okay? We did a top 10 on Instagram. I plugged it again for Ultra. Top 10 teams way too early heading into 2021. Way too early, right? And I did the tier rankings. ESPN did the same exact thing, right? Top 10 teams. What does ESPN do on their power rankings? What does ESPN do, guys? Where would you think you would rank the Super Bowl champions with Tom Brady and the best roster in the league going into next year? Where would you rank them? Where would you rank them? First, maybe maybe you say, okay, Kansas City's still young. Maybe Brady at 44 won't be the same. Maybe you put the Chiefs at 1. Maybe. That's maybe. Okay? Because, okay, yeah, Chiefs won last year. Bucs won this year. They split this season. Maybe the Chiefs win next year, right? Where do you put them? 1, maybe 2, right? No. ESPN does a way too early power rankings. They put the Bucs at 4. Not 1, not 2, not 3, 4. They put them 4th. I don't even know if you guys could guess who the other 3 teams were that were ahead of them. The Bucs were ranked 4th. So clearly, I'm not making this shit up, okay? I'm not making this up. The Bucs won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl. 7th. Not 2nd, not 3rd, 7th. Okay, 7th. And people still doubted him. People are still doubting this guy. He just won 7 Super Bowls. 7. Do you know how ridiculous it is for a quarterback and a team to beat their opponent in the biggest game of the year by 20 plus points and then be ranked 4th? Are you kidding me? How disrespectful can you get? How is ESPN even a thing? How can you rank Tampa Bay 4th? What? How can you seriously doubt Tom Brady at this point? This is just ridiculous. Okay, I will tell you right now, the moment I knew Tampa Bay was going to win the Super Bowl, guys, this is the moment I knew Tampa Bay was going to win the Super Bowl. Now, there's one real moment and one moment where I was just like, that's a good omen. I think that's going to help them. Totally random, okay? Totally random. This is how I knew Tampa was going to win the Super Bowl. The opening video package. Ultra. The opening video package. You should have known the Bucs were going to win the Super Bowl right here, Ultra. I'm speaking to you, Ultra. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Kansas City Chiefs were introduced in the opening video package by CBS with a narration from Brad Pitt. Once I saw that, I was like, the Bucs are going to win. Bucs are going to win. I knew it. I was like, just as I saw that, I was like, there's no way that the team I'm cheering for is narrated by Brad Pitt. We're going to win. I'm done. Like, I should have just bet all of the money that I had on the Bucs right then. But of course I didn't, okay? But when I heard Brad Pitt do the thing, I was like, it's over. It's over. The Bucs are going to win. But the real moment, okay, that was a good sign that they were going to win, okay? But the second sign that I knew they were going to win was when Andy Reid kicked a field goal down 21-9. He kicked a field goal. And then I was just like, it's over. Like, why are we even discussing this? Okay? Why are we even discussing this anymore? The game's over. Because Andy Reid just gave up. When Andy Reid kicked a field goal down 21-9 to make it 21-12, I believe, I knew the game was over. Yes. But ultimately, the Bucs won the Super Bowl because of Brad Pitt. It all comes full circle. But you know what's funny about this game is I had like a really weird confidence. And I was talking about this to my dad, and I was just like, after the game yesterday, and I was just like, you know what? I had this weird confidence about this game this week. And it was like, usually in a Super Bowl, you have at least like an inkling, or like one day you don't think it's possible or you don't think it's going to happen. And I should have known at that moment, like all week, I don't know, maybe Chiefs fans could give me the opposite view. Like a bad feeling about the game. But do you ever know when you're cheering for a team and you never have like that moment of, we're going to lose? It's a really weird thing to try to explain. But I never had a moment where I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? The Chiefs are going to win. I never had that moment. The whole week, I kid you not, guys. I've never had this going into a Super Bowl. And maybe that explains why it was a blowout. But I was like, yeah, the Bucs are going to win. The Bucs are going to win. I just know it. Like every day, it just kept confirming it and compounding. I was like, it's something that I can't even explain, but it's just that feeling you get as a fan that you know you're going to win. And yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. But I just thought I'd bring that up because I just had that feeling the whole week where I was just like, I don't see how they can lose. Even though everyone's picking the Chiefs, the whole week in my head, I'm like, this team's going to win. I know it. And then it just happened, and I wasn't surprised. So it almost took away from my surprise. Because, I had a feeling they were going to win the whole time. It was never like I had this moment of they're going to lose and then they win. So when it was happening, while other people were surprised and shocked and didn't understand, I was just watching the game like, yeah, I kind of get this. So it wasn't really even that exciting. I was just like, it's just happening. Maybe that's the Tom Brady thing. I don't know. But this is the thing, okay? This is the thing. Listen, I've heard the last couple days that Kansas City lost this game. They didn't show up. They lost because of penalties. No. Tampa Bay dominated this game in all facets. Offense, defense, special teams. Go rewatch the game if you like. But Mitch, penalties. Penalties, right? The interference calls. What did I say about penalties in the reaction? When you outplay the other team, you're due to get more calls. That's the way sports work. But when you really watch this game, you study this game, you watch it back. Okay? The Bucs had a better game plan across the board, offensively, defensively. The Bucs had better talent from top to bottom. The Bucs had less weaknesses to expose. And on top of those two things, they came in with better coaching, better players. On top of that, their players played with more energy, more passion, and more composure. All of those things were true, and you saw it on the field. The way the Bucs rallied to the football on defense. The way Tom Brady kept his offense composed early in the game. In comparison to how Tyrann Mathieu and the Chiefs defense looked rattled at moments, salty at moments, unsure of themselves. You saw the difference, and this is why it's so hard to repeat, guys. Because when a team just won a Super Bowl, it's hard to capture that eye of the tiger back, right? Think to Rocky. Think to Rocky in Rocky 1 versus Rocky 3, right? Rocky 1, he's the underdog. Nobody thinks he can win. Rocky 1, he's motivated to prove the haters wrong. That's the Bucs. In Rocky 3, he's at the top of the mountain. Okay? Nobody can beat him. He's unstoppable. He doesn't even need to work that hard to do it. That's the Bucs versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs felt, we can do us. We're the Chiefs. We can do what we do. We'll roll out there. They'll play the same way. We'll roll them over. We'll shred them because we have Mahomes. It doesn't matter that our offensive line sucks, that we have all these backups. It doesn't matter. We're just going to get out there. We're going to play, and we're going to win. So that's why when you see two teams, one, the team that hasn't ever won, besides maybe 2 or 3 players on the team in Tampa Bay, led by a passionate, composed leader, versus a team that is full of themselves, arrogant, and not composed, because when you're full of yourself and you're arrogant and you basically are too cocky for your own good, you become unraveled easier because you don't expect the things to happen that unfolded in the game. So when the Chiefs have been rolling over everyone with limited effort all year, including in the playoffs, they go to the Super Bowl, and when they get smacked in the mouth, they start to unfold. They start to lose focus. They start to get chippy. They start to make plays that, in a bad way, would have never happened last year. Because last year they played with the chip on their shoulder. They played with the eye of the tiger. But now, that's Tampa. And that is something in sports that's hard to quantify. And that's why when people say it's tough to repeat, it truly is tough to repeat. Not only is it tough to repeat, but it's tough to win a Super Bowl with the same team and the same core of players, period. That's why what Tom Brady has done and what the Patriots did for so many years is absolutely a phenomenon. Because it's so hard to play with when everyone's a professional, when everyone plays in the NFL and everyone is just as talented as the other. There's marginal differences in talent. It's more about focus. It's more about energy. It's more about will to win at this level than anything else. It's more about dedication. That's what made Tom Brady the GOAT, right? Over a guy that was maybe more talented entering the league, right? We know this story. But That's why it's so incredible when a team or a player is able to sustain that amount of consistency and success, because the toughest thing is not to play well. The toughest thing is to reach the mountaintop and maintain the focus and dedication that it takes to stay there. At anything. This could be sports or not sports related. Hector with the super chat. Thank you for the $5. He says, man, these sore losers supporting the Chiefs crazy for being surprised on the blowout. Like, bro, you thought the jacked up O-line was stopping them. Oh, trust me, Hector. We're going to get to that in just a second, buddy. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. So, I said it before the Super Bowl, guys. I said it before the Super Bowl in the Best Bets video, I believe. But this is something that I honestly stole from Sean Payton, because I don't know if you know this, but Sean Payton, I respect him a lot. He's a great football coach, great football mind, but he's also a very intelligent man. He is very wise. What did Sean Payton say the 2 times I heard him predict the game? Because he was on a lot of shows this week on podcasts. Okay? What he said before the game that made me believe that he was picking Tampa Bay is he said, beware of the team that has to go through the tough path. Beware of the team that beats everyone on the road. That beats, he was saying, beats us on the road. Beats the Packers on the road. And even Washington to a certain degree. Right? When you really think about this, when you really think about it, much has been made about the Bucs' path in terms of Tom Brady personally, and like him playing Breeze and Rodgers and Mahomes and what he did from that, side of things. But when you think about what they did as a team, and then when you think about pre-game Super Bowl Chiefs versus Bucs, why again were the Chiefs expected to win this game? Why? Exactly. When you really think about it, we should have seen this coming. Like, everybody should have seen this coming. Okay, Tampa, this is an impressive road that they were able to pull off here. They beat 3 top 10 defenses. They beat 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They beat 2 top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Both in their building. They beat their biggest mismatch, their biggest rival, the team that smacked them twice, their worst matchup, and they went on to beat the MVP of this season in his building in a cold environment when they're a warm weather team. And who did the Chiefs beat exactly? The Browns? No offense to the Browns, but they were just happy to be in the playoffs. Secondly, I love the Bills, but they're a newbie to the playoffs in general, and they just kind of unraveled in that game. What the AFC Championship said to me was, the Bills don't believe they deserve to be there more than anything. Okay? The Bucs had the momentum, and they finally, and this is why you should be subscribed to Patreon right here. This is why you should be subscribed to Patreon. This is what I said on the Patreon pregame chat. This is what I said. The Bucs have yet to play a perfect game all year, yet they're in the Super Bowl. What does that mean? That means they're great despite never playing their perfect game. That's what everyone talked about with the Chiefs, but nobody talked about it with the Bucs. And all of a sudden in the Super Bowl, it finally happened. They finally played a perfect game. They finally played good offense and good defense and good special teams and a good game plan, and that's why they won 31-9. Because even when the Bucs beat the Saints by 10, and even when the Bucs beat the Packers, they did not play a perfect game. And those teams are arguably just as good, if not better than Kansas City on paper. Or at least more difficult from their perspective as a matchup, right? New Orleans was a tough matchup for them. Rodgers is a better quarterback than Mahomes, I would argue. So, the Bucs just finally put it together. They were battle tested, and even though they didn't play perfect football, they made it to the big game. And once they were in the big game, and once they had that extra week to prep, that extra week to work out the kinks, they put it all together. So that is something that I think went under the radar, is that Tampa Bay didn't play their best all year and still won the Super Bowl. The only time they played at their best was the Super Bowl, and they won a blowout. And that's why. All right. Let's talk about how they won. Let's talk about the TBD, as some people are calling it, the Todd Bowles defense, and how Todd Bowles completely owned your boy, Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid, everybody's favorite cheeseburger eating coach. So how did Todd Bowles do it? Well, first, Kansas City had one of the worst game plans I've seen in Super Bowl history from an offensive perspective. Why? Because they literally did not expect anything that Tampa Bay did. And all they had to do, guys, all they had to do, ladies and gentlemen, all they had to do, Asia Green, all they had to do was watch the Bottom Line View. Like, all they had to do was watch the Bottom Line View preview. All they had to do was watch my preview of the game and say, oh, you know what? Tampa's probably going to play 2-man deep all the time. They're going to go with a 4-man rush. They're not going to blitz. They're going to play some man. They're going to play some zone. They're going to mix in coverages. And we got to worry about that pass rush. We can't let the pass rush beat us. That's all they had to do, was watch the Bottom Line View. But what did they not do? They did not watch the Bottom Line View. So Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes, I got a message for you at home. Watch the Bottom Line View, and you just might beat the Tampa Bay Bucks next time. Watch the Bottom Line View. All right. Anyways, okay? It wasn't just that they didn't watch the Bottom Line View, but they didn't adjust once they got in the game. They literally stuck to the same script, stuck to the same plays, stuck to the same concepts that were not working, period, end of story. Andy Reid was horrible in this game. I love Andy Reid. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. He was absolutely atrocious, okay, from multiple different perspectives. Andy Reid was horrible in his clock management, horrible in his game plan, horrible in his adjustments. I mean, just for example, the guy called a timeout on a 3rd and 2 on the last drive of the first half versus Tom Brady. Who does that? Who does that? Who calls a timeout on 3rd and 2 versus Tom Brady with the 2-minute offense? Are you kidding me? That is like in the rule book. Like, if this was the coach's handbook, you flip to page 14, okay, and you see right there it says, do not give Tom Brady time to go down the field at the half or at the end of the game. Like, Andy, you didn't even have to watch the Bottom Line View to do that. All you had to do was read the coach's notebook, the coach's handbook, and it would have told you that you don't call a timeout with, I don't know, was it a minute? Something like that? On 3rd and 2. Okay, not only that, you've been getting dominated in those situations for the whole game, and you call the timeout. The clock management. I mean, you would have thought that the Chiefs were the team that's never been to the Super Bowl. Holy, was it bad. Holy, were they disorganized. And that comes from the top. That comes from their coach. Obviously, they weren't prepared for that situation. They didn't know what to do. No, it's not easier said than done. You don't call a timeout versus Tom Brady. I don't care. I don't care. Okay? Let's talk about that game plan a little bit here. So Patrick Mahomes, one of the shocking points that I was shocked when I saw this stat. Patrick Mahomes only attempted play action 3 times in the game. He was 1 for 3 for 3 yards in the game off of play action. He only had 3 play action passes. Now, I don't know why that was. Was that because they were scared of the pass rush? Is that because they thought that Tampa wouldn't be threatened by the run, therefore they'd pass rush anyways? But play action is a great way to slow down that pass rush. It's a great way to get those fast linebackers over, exposing themselves, running towards the running back or towards the run or towards the fake in general, right? The fake's a great way to hold zone coverage, to hold the defenders, to get big plays down the field. If your game plan is we're going to try to strike down the field, use more play action. And even if you're not going to use play action in the traditional sense, use play action with motion to create screens or to create the ability to throw a quick pass. Like we saw that touchdown to Rob Gronkowski. It was basically play action and motion and throw to Gronk. Like it didn't take a whole bunch of time to run it. Typically, play action holds the defenders. It at least makes them think about the possibility of defending the run. When you just continuously pass the ball, sure, can it wear down a defense? Yes. But it's a lot more obvious that you're just going to get the snap and get absolutely wrecked. You got to mix it in, is what I'm saying. Mahomes is effective off play action. Their offense is huge on play action, and they did not use it at all in the game. All I was told all week was that they would be able to figure out the offensive line issues, that Andy Reid would scheme around it. But it was the weirdest thing. It almost reminded me of the BUCS versus the Saints in week 9, where it was like playing into what a defense wants you to do. Like, it was ridiculous. Playing into what the defense wants you to do. And that's what I talked about with the Saints and the BUCS in week 9. The BUCS were throwing down the field, throwing into their 2 deep coverages and all of that, and just getting exposed because of it, because they weren't, playing as if the Saints did have a dominant pass rush, which they did. And it's the reason why the BUCS lost. And that's part of the reason the BUCS were able to evolve, is because they went through that process of understanding what happened. But with Kansas City, they were trying these long developing plays, going for the kill. It's almost like they expected Todd Bowles to blitz. And every time he didn't, they're like, oh, they're going to blitz on the next play. Oh, they might blitz on the next play. Oh, we got to wait for the next play. Like, that's what it was. It was Todd Bowles threw a couple blitzes at them early in the game to make them worry a little about the blitz coming. And then he literally didn't blitz for the rest of the game. He blitzed maybe 3 or 4 times. There were a couple of delayed blitz, which I'll get to. But there was generally nothing that's going to help your quarterback defeat a strong pass rush. There was not enough screens, just general motion mixed with play action, as we discussed. There was no belief that we could run the ball. It really took them till the third quarter, when the game was basically already over, before they ran the ball. And here's the thing. Like, I understand you don't want to run the ball versus Tampa, but at a certain point, when they're playing too deep and they're playing, very soft in the box, very light boxes, you at least got to make them think about it. Think about the possibility of running the ball. And I get it was inconsistent, but what were you doing through the air? Like, you at least gotta give your defense a break at a certain point. You gotta be able to pick up some yards on early downs, because every early downs, we talked about this, Tampa destroyed them in early downs because early in the game, they were throwing it, hot underneath to the flat, and they were just immediately getting tackled, or Mahomes was holding on to the ball and not being able to make the play. I felt there was not enough pocket movement for Mahomes to, get, outside of the right or the left to be able to throw on the move through just a pocket, move into the right or move into the left to help him in protection to get easy throws that way. There wasn't enough of that. Just generally, it felt like the Chiefs expected the Bucs to play the exact same way, but they didn't. Of course, they adjusted like any normal team would and any smart coach would. And then what ended up happening is because Mahomes was under duress constantly, Mahomes ended up getting nervous. He was worried about the pressure. He was worried about the rush. And then in his head, his clock's going off. So he's like, okay, I can't look down the field, so I got to throw it short. And then later in the game, we saw guys jump this. We saw Levante David jump this early. We saw Devin White jump this early. Like, the defense knew that Mahomes is nervous. Mahomes' clock is expiring far too quickly, even when we're not getting pressure, just because he's nervous. And then they gambled on those short throws and were able to make tackles, especially on those first and second downs. It was nothing extremely complex from Todd Bowles. I thought he just played to the strength and exposed the weaknesses of Kansas City. This was the first time Tampa Bay had their starting defense since week 5, right? They didn't have it versus Green Bay because Antoine Winfield Jr. was out. And they finally got it back with Vita Vea and Winfield being healthy and ready to go for the Super Bowl. What they did for a majority of the game was 2 deep, cover 2, quarters, and man mixed in with a 4-man rush. They used a lot of stunts. They had a blitz a handful of times. They had a couple corner blitzes, especially early. And then their only real blitz that they would perform or do was with Devin White on kind of a delayed blitz. So Devin White would stay in the middle of the field. And they did this a couple times, especially when they were in cover 1 or in man coverage. And Devin White would be in the middle of the field and he would be designed to be in coverage, but he would wait. And then once he saw a gap to go, he would then immediately blitz and rush Mahomes. And they did that a handful of times. Devin White almost acted as a spy who was releasing to get to the quarterback, which is something that I talked about on the preview that New England has done in the past. But I feel like everyone's talking about the front. I talked about it a lot in the reaction. They deserve a lot of credit. I thought what Bowles did to try to expose the matchups with Vita Vea on the edge and JPP on the inside and, lining up Shaq versus mismatches. I loved seeing Vita Vea versus those tackles and just pushing them back into the pocket and making Mahomes uncomfortable. That was one of my favorite little slight tweaks to the game plan. But I don't think enough people are talking about what they did coverage-wise. I mean, I think a whole big reason they were able to get to the quarterback is because of what they did from a coverage perspective. They took away Mahomes' first read. Then that activated Mahomes' hero mode. So he runs around in circles to try to make a play because his first read's not there. And then eventually they're going to get pressure, force an incompletion, force a sack, force something, force them to throw it away. The defensive line was so absurd in this game that it almost looked on a number of snaps, especially at the end, that they were running screens where a whole offensive line moves to the right or the left. That's what it looked like on a handful of snaps, even more than a handful of snaps. That's what it looked like. And I do want to give credit to the guys that have not been discussed, the guys that have not been talked about. I'm talking about Nunez, Roches, 17% of snaps. McClendon, who they picked up, the veteran halfway through the year, 31% of snaps. William Golston played 35% of the snaps. Nelson, the DN, played 24% of the snaps. So it wasn't just Sue, Vea, JPP, and Shaq. all of these defensive linemen played snaps in this game, and they were all awesome. That needs to be credited. And the final two players I want to talk about on the defensive side of the football is Devin White and Antoine Winfield Jr. After the Super Bowl, I nearly put Devin White on my All-Pro team. Guys, if you haven't watched the All-Pro video, please check it out. I listed all the best players at every position. Devin White might officially be the best linebacker in the league after the Super Bowl. He might have been the MVP of the entire game. Okay, not just from his blitzing, but a one-man run-stopping machine. Like, the guy was running from the other side of the field and tackling the running back. He played great coverage in the game. He had an interception. Of course, he caused pressure. I think Devin White's the best linebacker in the league. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to look at the webcam, look at the camera so you understand me well. Devin White is the best linebacker in football. And it's not because he's the most complete, but he is the biggest playmaker, period. He makes the biggest difference in these games at the linebacker position in the league. What he does, I don't think any other linebacker can do at that level. His speed is ridiculous. His playoff energy that he brought this defense out of the damn building, through the roof. Devin White is a monster. And he was the best player on the field, arguably, in the Super Bowl. Or at least one of them, okay, in the top three. He was arguably the MVP because he makes up so much ground. This was a main problem for Buffalo, right? Buffalo has pretty good linebackers, right? We would all consider their linebackers to be pretty good. I'm telling you, the reason the Chiefs beat the Bills as bad as they did, we'll get to that a little with why, I'll talk about Mahomes here in a sec. But part of it was because of the yak plays. And those are not happening versus Tampa. Like, maybe you get one or two, but the yards after catch, when a guy caught the football, the Chiefs went nowhere. As soon as they caught the ball, they're done. The play was over. They didn't get extra yards after the catch. Whether the throw was 20 yards downfield or, below the line of scrimmage. They got no yards after catch in that game. I don't know what the stats are, but a lot of that was Devin White and his pursuit. And they just play with such energy, man, and I think it's fueled through him. Secondly, Antoine Winfield Jr. was unbelievable in this game. Unbelievable. Coverage, run defense, energy, peace signs, all of it. Okay, and probably my favorite play of the game was when Antoine Winfield Jr. peace signed Tyreek Hill. I thought that was great. Fantastic. I mean, talk about revenge. This guy got peace signed in week 12, so he comes back and peace signs the man. Man, that was great. Antoine Winfield Jr., I love the guy. Obviously my favorite safety coming out of the draft. I was pumped when Tampa drafted him. It was like my favorite pick in the draft, all that stuff. But when I truly saw how good he is when he didn't play versus Green Bay and he played in this game, and then the defense was just so much better. He plays well beyond his years. Very smart player and very, very good. And he's going to only get better. So that's what happened on that side of the ball. It wasn't just the pressure. It was the coverage, guys. It was the coverage. And this quote as well leads me to the Patrick Mahomes assessment. So this is what Todd Bowles said after the game about Mahomes and the offense. So what Todd Bowles said is that if you take away the first read, you know he's going to drift and hold it. You know that's a dangerous thing because he can run and he can make plays with his feet. But we didn't want him sitting in the pocket, just zinging dimes on us all day either. So the D-line got some pressure on him and was making him run and making him a little bit uncomfortable. And I thought that was the key for us. So what Bowles is saying is that while Mahomes is great, some would argue the best quarterback in football, he's got a long way to go to be a perfect player. He has one big weakness, which is he's not great past his first read. So his assessment in this game, I think a lot of people are saying that he deserves zero blame. You know, I heard a lot of ESPN analysts and people generally just on Twitter, on social media, talking about how Mahomes made some incredible plays, that if a guy would have caught it here, a guy would have caught it there, we wouldn't be talking like this, or, you know, he didn't play bad or whatever. My opinion on this game, my opinion on Mahomes in this game is that he was worse than people are saying. Yes, he was a victim of circumstance a little bit. But when you watch the game back, you will see that Mahomes missed some throws. You will see that Mahomes did not make the correct read a lot of times. He wasn't good at going from his first to his second read quickly through his progressions. He was often very nervous under pressure. And I think that was overshadowed by the fact that he did make some crazy throws that only he can make while on the run trying to avoid the pressure. And I'm not going to say that Mahomes was the reason they lost, because it's not. But he deserves more blame than people are giving him, is my point. It's okay to admit the guy had a bad game. To admit the guy played bad. It's okay, okay? It's fine. It's okay. Nobody's going to die. Nothing bad's going to happen. Mahomes was bad in the Super Bowl. You need to be able to admit when a player plays bad. I've admitted when Brady's played bad. It's okay. Everybody plays bad. Mahomes played bad. Okay? Yes. Was Mahomes under a lot of pressure? Absolutely. Was he under a lot of duress? Absolutely. Did he not exactly have the best game plan? Hand it to him. Absolutely. But partly, it's on the quarterback also to protect their offensive line. And this is something that when we get to Tom Brady, it's perhaps what he did the best in the entire game. Patrick Mahomes knew he had a shit offensive line. But what Patrick Mahomes did not do is help his offensive line by getting rid of the ball. Therefore, it does a couple things. He didn't get rid of the ball. Just throw it away in general. Even if nothing's there. He missed a couple throws that were huge in the game. Huge. And when your offensive line is having to constantly have to block for 15 seconds at a time, they're going to get tired. You need to know when the play is over, and you need to know when you've lost the play. You know, how many times did Mahomes, yes, he escaped pressure. It was incredible, okay, what he was able to do. But, like, the guy, imagine if a couple more of those turn into sacks. You're talking about 3rd and 25, 3rd and 30. Like some of those plays where he was just running around aimlessly, not looking to throw to anyone. And how many of those plays? Yes, some of the plays were awesome throws, like incredible throws. But how many of those throws that were nearly caught from some people's perspectives, nearly picked off? I mean, Mahomes should have been picked off 5 times in the game, like at least. How many times did the ball go through a guy's hands in the game? Is that not his fault for just throwing it at the other team? This was the story of his season all year. Like, this is the story of Mahomes this year. Mahomes played far worse than people want to say. Not just in this game, but throughout the season. He's a great player. He's the second best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. He's a great player. But he did not play his best in a lot of games this year. And just because the box score said he played well because he had 2 tap passes for a touchdown, doesn't mean the guy played well. This was the first actual game where Mahomes played poorly and actually the stats said he played poorly. Because most of the time when he plays poorly, the stats are still good because the scheme's still good, because Tyreek Hill's still good, because Kelsey's still good, and everyone around him is still good. I'm not trying to say Mahomes sucks, but the guy played like crap in this game. And it was not for the reasons physically, it was for the reasons mentally. He did not process the defense well enough to win this game. He did not make quarterbacking decisions. Part of being a quarterback is making good decisions and not losing the game for your team and not putting your team in jeopardy. He was lucky, he was fortunate to not have lost this game by more because of how often he put his team in a position to lose the game. That's my opinion on it. You can disagree if you like, but he was constantly looking down the field to try and hit big plays, despite the fact that he knew the pass rush was going to be on him. And then when the big play wasn't there, he rarely checked it down. This is what I rarely saw from Mahomes. I rarely saw a play where he just threw it to the immediate quick read. How many times in the game did you see Mahomes, although you knew the offensive line was going to get wrecked? And I'm not saying the offensive line getting wrecked is Mahomes' fault. Okay? Again, I need to make this clear. The offensive line sucking is not Mahomes' fault. It's not. But there's things quarterbacks can do to make it so that you don't lose the game and that you don't put yourself in this position. Like Mahomes looking downfield, gotta understand where to throw the ball under that situation. And to me, that's something that Mahomes, as great as he is, hasn't learned yet. He's still a young player. He hasn't learned that yet. So basically what Todd Bowles is saying through this quote, once again, if you take away his first read, you know he's going to drift. He's going to hold it. And you know that's a dangerous thing because he can run and make plays with his feet. We didn't want him sitting in the pocket just singing dines all day either. So the D-line getting pressure on him, making him run, and making him a little bit uncomfortable, I thought that was key. That's what Todd Bowles said. So what Todd Bowles basically said is, if you make this great athlete actually play the quarterback position and take away Andy Reid's offense, you win the game. That's what he said. If you force Mahomes to be a pocket 1 to 2 to 3, make the correct decision on every play quarterback, like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, he's going to lose. That's basically what he said. But the reason that's challenging to do is because not a lot of teams have great pass rushes like the BUCS, and not a lot of teams have the scheme in the back end to be able to take away the first read and make him challenge his mental to be able to go through all those reads. So to me, it was a great game plan by Bowles. And again, Mahomes isn't the reason they lost the game. The biggest reason they lost is because they couldn't allow time for Mahomes to make plays. But I believe Mahomes could have done more to using his mind, not his legs, not his feet, not his physical attributes, to be able to win this game. And that's where I was disappointed with Mahomes. And this leads me to my next point. Okay? This leads me to my next point. Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes. The Super Bowl proved it to me. Why? Because I think Aaron Rodgers does far more with less. Aaron Rodgers just played this defense. And although I was on Aaron Rodgers for not playing his best, which he did not play his best, he played far better than Patrick Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers is better than Mahomes right now. And it's not because Rodgers is more physically talented, which is the reason why everyone gives Rodgers this all-time praise. No, the reason why Rodgers is better than Mahomes is because he's smarter than Mahomes. He doesn't have to rely on his ability as often, right? We just talked about how Mahomes, it's first read and then improvisation, right? It's first read and then improvisation. That's how Mahomes beats you. With Rodgers, he is more refined. He's a smarter player. He's more flexible in his game and how he can beat you, right? Rodgers is first, I can shred you from the pocket. I can also beat you with my ability if I have to, with my legs, with my arm outside the pocket. I can combine that, right? Rodgers can combine that. The great thing that Rodgers did versus the BUCS far more often than Mahomes was get rid of the ball, was not let the pass rush get to him as often. And while Rodgers was sacked 5 times, I felt Rodgers put the ball in jeopardy far less times than Mahomes did. I mean, if we counted head-to-head turnover-worthy throws in the NFC Championship and Mahomes in the Super Bowl, I mean, it's probably double digits for Mahomes and single digits for Rodgers. It's probably like 5 throws or 4 throws for Rodgers, and it's like 12, 15 throws for Mahomes. Like, it felt like nearly every throw in the second half for Patrick Mahomes was almost an interception. That's how crazy things were. So overall, while Rodgers isn't as physically talented as Mahomes, the biggest part of being a great quarterback is not about the physical, right? The biggest difference between a lot of these elite guys, everyone has good physical ability in the top 10. It's about the mental, and I feel like the difference between number 1 and number 2 right now is that Rodgers thinks the game at a much faster rate. His processing is much better, and that's why he puts his team with less talent in a better position to win. Okay? Rodgers got sacked 5 times. This leads me to my next point. Everybody is talking about how Patrick Mahomes lost this game because of his offensive line. Let me bring up a game from Tom Brady's past. And this might be a reason why Tom Brady is the GOAT. If you didn't know that. Okay? Tom Brady played a pretty good defense back in 2015. He played the 2015 Denver Broncos. Arguably the best defense I've ever seen in my life. Okay? Probably the best secondary I've ever seen from a man-to-man perspective. And arguably the best pass rush I've ever seen. In Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Derek Wolfe, Malik Jackson. These boys were unbelievable. Shaq Barrett was a backup, okay? They won the damn Super Bowl single-handedly. They didn't even have a quarterback, okay? So this is what happened in that game. According to the stats. So Patrick Mahomes was the most pressured quarterback throughout this season and in Super Bowl history, I believe. I don't know that to be the truth. But Mahomes was the most pressured quarterback this season. According to the box score, when Tom Brady played the 2015 Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship, He was hit, not pressured, physically hit, okay? 20 times in the game. Patrick Mahomes in this game was hit 8 times, okay? So keep that into perspective. Tom Brady was hit 20 fucking times and almost won. Patrick Mahomes lost 31-9, getting hit 8 times. Now you will say, Patrick Mahomes didn't get hit as much because he escaped the pressure. Fair enough. Tom Brady was sacked more times. 4 times, okay? Tom Brady got absolutely effed up versus the 2015 Broncos. And why do I bring this up? Okay? Tom Brady did not have both of his starting tackles in the game. Tom Brady had no running game. Go back and check the stats. No running game. Julian Edelman was on one leg. Okay? All he had was Gronk. And they almost beat the Super Bowl champion if Steven Gostkowski doesn't miss an extra point. They go to the Super Bowl and they might beat the Panthers. So when people say that Mahomes was incapable, impossible, that they could have beat the Bucs, that's just flat out wrong. Because Tom Brady almost damn did it in the same fashion versus a better defense in just as big of a game. So, I don't know. Maybe that just speaks to how good Tom Brady is or was. Or it speaks to maybe we should be blaming Mahomes a little bit more than we are. Because we see the incredible plays he makes. We see the incredible escape from pressure and the great throw. But what did that throw result in? How did that help him win the game? How many of those throws actually were completed? And when you counter that, how many of those throws or those plays could have been completed earlier in the down to a safer, more reliable option? So when you play quarterback, it's not always about the wow factor. It's about the, did you do it? How efficient were you? How did you do it? So I'm just throwing that out there for perspective. All right. I got to give my boy credit. And guys, trust me, this is going to be a damn ass long video because I'm like halfway through right now and I still got a lot more to say. Byron Leftwich, I apologize. I apologize, Byron Leftwich. I was on you in the season. I was wrong. Byron Leftwich, you had your best game of the season, pal. I got to give you all the credit in the world. You did a great job. Now, I don't know how much of it was Tom Brady, Arians, or you. But you called the plays, damn it, so you get credit. Byron Leftwich, I was wrong. I admit it. You are a good offensive coordinator. I said it. You are a good offensive coordinator. This was your best game of the season. Hands down. Okay? It starts with the offensive line. They were outstanding in this game. Outstanding. Unbelievable. I mean, Tristan Wirfs was graded a 91.4 from PFF. That is unbelievable. Okay? Tristan Wirfs is a rookie right tackle, and he's already the best right tackle in the damn league. Okay? Byron Leftwich, he used great amounts of play action, thank God. He used the screen game. He had some plays drawn up for some yak. He had even a play in the end zone where he was trying to throw to his left tackle. It almost worked if Joe Hag didn't drop it. This guy was awesome. I felt like Leftwich's play calling, the great balance he had in his approach and in his attack was incredible. He was Like, he won that battle versus Steve Spagnuolo, and I was not sure that he would be able to. And he did. He kept him on his toes. He called the right play whenever Spags was coming after them. And he allowed Tom Brady plays where Tom could diagnose the defense and, of course, do his thing and get the ball out quick and not playing into the hand of the defense. Byron Leftwich grew substantially from 2 weeks ago to this moment today. He grew a ton. I feel like he learned so much preparing for this game that it's going to help him so much going into next year and into the future. And I'm sorry that I doubted you, Byron. You're the man, okay? You did a great job. You schemed it up. You slowed down Chris Jones. You slowed down those blitzes. You did well on early down play calling. Even without Evans and Godwin being effective, you put your other players in a position to succeed, whether that was Gronk, Cam Brate, AB, your running backs. So credit to Byron Leftwich. Now let's talk about the man. All right. So Tom Brady and the Bucs scored 30-plus points in all 4 of their playoff games. Brady went down this year as the most efficient passer of all playoff quarterbacks. And yet, I hear that the team redo. Yet, I hear that the team would have won with multiple other quarterbacks. I'm sorry, they couldn't have. Do I have to remind you that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went 7-9 last year? They had one of the worst pass defenses in football. They were an utter mess from a penalties perspective, from a turnover perspective, from an overall organizational standpoint. And you even saw that trickle into this season early in the year. The proof is in the pudding, okay? Tom Brady in this game, his intelligence, everything that makes Tom Brady great was on display in this game. His intelligence at the line of scrimmage, his just ability to know to not lose the game, protecting the ball. You saw all of the imprints of him in the game planning, in the play calling, in the way that the offense completely shifted from the last couple of games to play Kansas City. I mean, this offense looked totally different. They ran totally new plays. They look like, credit to Byron Leftwich, but for some reason, even though I'll never know that true answer, it felt like a lot of this came from Tom Brady. At the line of scrimmage, he went quick count, snapped the ball quick, right? Protected his offensive line, got the Chiefs defense in bad positions, trying to be exotic, trying to show something and then drop out, or trying to, shift their coverages and their safeties trying to, come in the box and then drop out. But they never had enough time. So Brady was able to quick snap, make them be in bad positions and execute off of that. And I think the biggest thing with Brady with this team was, you'll hear it, like literally just listen to any press conference from the entire season, from Devin White, Bruce Arians, Todd Bowles, Shaq Barrett, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, go down the line of the entire team. He made the team better from his leadership. He made the team better from practice. He made the team better from regimen, from just overall. It's incredible what this guy off the field was able to do for this team. From everything, from preparation to game planning, to at practice on the field, to the competition within the practice, to on the field, belief in the team, on the field, knowing that you could never lose because you have Tom Brady, on the field, making your defense believe that they're the best damn motherfuckers out there, believing, making your offensive line feel comfortable, making your offensive line believe. Everything with Tom Brady is about making everyone better. That is why Tom Brady is the GOAT, man. Because he makes everyone around him better. Period. That is why the Bucs won the Super Bowl. Sure, could Josh Allen, who's more talented than Tom Brady, come to this team and be successful? Yes. But would he have won the Super Bowl? No. No. Because this team did not win the Super Bowl because they were lacking talent. This team won the Super Bowl because they were lacking leadership, because they were lacking belief. That is why. Not because they didn't have an elite quarterback. You could put more talented quarterbacks on this team and they would not have won the Super Bowl because it was never about talent. And then people say, they didn't have the three other guys, Fournette, Brown, and Gronk. Well, why are they on this team? Because of Tom Brady. This is what Tom Brady did in the game that I think was better than people realize, okay? Tom Brady played better than you realize in the Super Bowl. Here is why. Okay? Tom Brady in the first half averaged a time, and think back to what we talked about with Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady in the first half averaged 2.18 seconds per pass. That was the fastest in a game in the new gen stats era. Tom Brady threw the football faster than any quarterback in football since new gen stats began. Okay? Think about that for a second. His 3.7 air yards per attempt were his second shortest in a game all year because this offense was a downfield passing attack all year. All three of his touchdowns came off of play action. Think about this statement here for a second. Tom Brady threw the ball faster than any defensive line could ever get to him. Ever. Okay? His release combined with his game plan is the reason their offense was so good in this game. If the Bucs roll out the Byron, Leftwich, Bruce Arians original offense, they lose this game. So the two main reasons beside Todd Bowles, which is Tom Brady and Tom Brady's game plan, is the reason they won the game. That's why he played better than you thought. His first half stats were 16 for 20 for 140, 3 touchdowns. If this game was actually close, okay, he only threw 9 attempts in the second half. He was 5 for 9 for 61 yards. If this game was actually close, I would go on record saying that if this game was close, he would have thrown 5 touchdowns in the game. He would have had 300 yards in the game. But the fact of the matter is he did not have to. He only threw 9 attempts in the second half. Okay? So let's just go through the first half, right? Brady, 16 for 20, 3 touchdowns, 140 yards. So let's just say that happened in the second half. 32 for 40, 280, 6 touchdowns. If this game was actually close, if Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs came to play, Tom Brady would have had an epic game, not just a very good one. So he played a lot better than you think. All right. Next point. Gronk is the GOAT. We go from one GOAT to the other. And I don't want to hear it no more. Similarly to how I've talked about, don't compare Brady to Rodgers. Don't compare Rodgers to Brady. Don't compare Mahomes to Brady. Don't compare Manning to Brady. Don't compare Montana to Brady. Don't compare anyone to Brady, okay? Similarly to how I've said that, stop comparing other tight ends to Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski on Super Bowl 55 closed the book on the GOAT conversation of the tight end position. Check this stat for a second. At 25 years old, Rob Gronkowski caught his 51st receiving touchdown in his 60th game. That means he only didn't score a touchdown in 9 games in his first 60 games. Travis Kelce, who is considered one of the best tight ends of all time and the best tight end right now, has 48 receiving touchdowns for his entire career. I'll say it again. Rob Gronkowski at the age 25 had 51 touchdowns. Travis Kelce has 48 in his entire career. Not only did that happen, Gronk on the Super Bowl was arguably the MVP of the game. If he would have won the MVP, I wouldn't have been surprised. He looked great. He looked faster than he ever looked this year. He was more physical than he looked this year. His yards after catch was outstanding. The bye helped him get the rest that he needed. And when he was singled up, he thrived. He destroyed Sorensen. He destroyed Matthew or whoever was covering him. I haven't seen Gronk look this damn good since 2017 physically. He could have won the MVP of the game. Gronk on the big stage showed up, outclassed, and outplayed Travis Kelce. Period. And he closed the book. Everyone said Gronk's done. Gronk showed up in the big moment and closed the book. If it wasn't already damn closed, he slammed it shut. Now for an interesting discussion. How many Hall of Famers do the Bucs have? This is something I tweeted after the Super Bowl. My mind was blown when I actually went through the Bucs roster and considered how many Hall of Famers do they actually have on their team. So let's go through it, shall we? And I have it in tiers. So let's start off with the obvious. Tom Brady, duh. Antonio Brown, duh. And Rob Gronkowski, duh. Okay? Those guys are obviously in the Hall of Fame. These guys, the next section, are the guys that will get in my opinion, at a certain point. Maybe not first ballot, but will get in. LaShawn McCoy, definitely. Ndamukong Suh just won a Super Bowl, catapulted himself into the Hall of Fame. Multiple-time All-Pro, multiple-time Pro Bowler, great damn D-tackle. Also, All-Decade Team of 2010, helps a lot. Bruce Arians, 2-time Coach of the Year and Super Bowl champion. Mike Evans, Super Bowl champion, the only receiver in NFL history to have 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons. And he's only 27, so he'll get in. Levante David, he'll get in. I don't know if he was all decade, but he's certainly been a multiple-time Pro Bowler, and he has a lot of stats that he's compiled. So he'll get in because he's one of the top 5 linebackers of his generation. So those are the obvious and the will get in. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8 already. Okay. Then you have the outside chance. Jason Pierre-Paul, who has 2 Super Bowls and has never lost in the playoffs. Never, ever. JPP was an all-pro, first-team all-pro in 2011. He has multiple 10-plus sack seasons. Of course, 2-time Super Bowl champion, clutch in the playoffs. That's what people remember, right? He still has a couple years left to add to his legacy. I think he needs another Super Bowl or another deep playoff run or another great season to get in. And then you have Shaq Barrett, who's still a lot younger than JPP, but he's led the league in sacks once. He's been an all-pro once. He has 2 Super Bowls. So Shaq has an outside chance. Then you have the final category, which is young and have a chance. Tristan Wirfs, who we just talked about, is might be the best right tackle for the next 10 years. Devin White, Vita Vea, and Chris Godwin. All those players, if they stay on their current track and current pace, they have a chance to get in. And I would say out of those 4, White and Wirfs have the best chance. So when you really look at it, Tampa Bay has the potential to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Hall of Famers. And I'll guess that at least 10 of these players make it to the Hall of Fame. So let's just say that the Bucs might have 10 Hall of Famers on this Super Bowl team. I don't remember the last Super Bowl team that had 10 Hall of Famers. That's pretty ridiculous. Where do the Chiefs go from here? So the way I'm going to wrap up this video is by talking a little bit about the Chiefs' future and a little bit about the Bucs' future, and then we're going to say goodbye. So where do the Chiefs go from here? They just lost the Super Bowl. They've been in the Super Bowl back-to-back years. How do they get back? Well, I think the first thing to say is they're going to have a chance because really, Mahomes is arguably the best quarterback in the league, so they'll be back. Andy Reid is a phenomenal coach. They're the favorite to currently win the Super Bowl. So they're certainly going to be in the conversation. But what do they have to do to get back? I think they need to improve their defensive line, their linebacking core, their cornerback group. I think they need new offensive linemen, especially if Mitchell Schwartz retires. They're probably going to move on from Sammy Watkins. They probably need a new number 2 wide receiver. And they also need a second running back. If that's Damian Williams, then that would be fine enough. When you look at their free agency, Sammy Watkins is going to be gone. Alex Okafor is probably going to be gone, who is a starting DN. Sorensen, starter on their defense. I don't know if he'll be back or not. Bashad Breeland is a free agent. Damian Wilson is a free agent. Demarcus Robinson is a free agent. Darrell Williams is a free agent. Charvarius Ward is a free agent. Andrew Wiley is a free agent. And Mike Ramers is a free agent. So all of those players that played a lot of snaps and crucial minutes and crucial time for Kansas City are free agents. Not saying that any of them are irreplaceable. I think the biggest loss on that list would probably be Ward or Breeland. One of those guys, one of the corners. If they lose both of those corners, that would be a massive blow. But they have a lot of areas that they need to improve. I think first and foremost, hopefully you can re-sign your corners and then just improve the line of scrimmage. Just generally improve the offensive line and improve the defensive line. And the Chiefs will have a chance to win the Super Bowl next year. So that's my thoughts on the Chiefs. And the final topic is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can they repeat? Yes. clearly. I just talked about how they have 10 Hall of Famers. So, yeah, they have a chance. The teams, this is the thing about Tampa that we've never seen before, okay? They won a Super Bowl in a year where they had limited chemistry, limited practice time. I don't know the last time, if ever, that a veteran quarterback has come to a new team and in the first year won the Super Bowl. If that's happened before, let me know. But I don't remember it happening as of recently. So that just happened. So Tom Brady will have more comfort in the offense. Combined with the fact that they're going to have a more diverse offense, a deeper offense, probably more plays to work with, more formations, more schemes. Because Brady and Leftwich are going to work all offseason to get this offense to the shape that they want it in before September. They're going to have more chemistry as an offense and as a defense because as long as they keep most of their players, they're going to be probably better, especially on offense, but probably also better on defense as long as they keep those guys. Because when you really think about it, this defense is very young and the offense is just going to get more sound. Their execution is going to be much better earlier in the year. So there's that biggest point. Then you have the second point, maybe the most important point, which is everybody is going to want to play for this team. Tampa Bay currently has the 11th most cap space in the NFL. They have Tom Brady in maybe his last year. They have an absolutely stacked team. They just beat Kansas City by 22 points in a Super Bowl. Everybody and their mom, their dog, their grandpa, and their cat are going to want to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Bruce Arians is a fun, loose coach. Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator. Byron Leftwich, everybody likes, okay? Across the NFL. Everybody loves Tom Brady across the NFL. They want to play for this damn team, okay? That is point number one. So players that typically wouldn't take less money are going to be willing to take less money to play for Tampa, especially if it's Tom Brady's last year. And a correction from Tony, who said the 7th most. Thank you for that. So then you look at the potential additions that they could have, right? They could probably add a corner to their team, whether that through the draft or free agency. Maybe a Richard Sherman or a Patrick Peterson in one of their final years plays for Tampa, right? That could happen. Maybe, hey, the Bucs say, hey, Belichick, we'll give you a first-round pick for Stephon Gilmore. Send him here. That could happen. All right? Julian Edelman going to Tampa. That could happen. James White, who's a free agent, could go to Tampa. They could use a receiving back. That would be nice, right? Maybe some of these veteran defensive linemen, veteran linebackers would play a role on this team. Veteran safeties that want to chase that ring are going to want to play for this team. We also saw a report that Mike Evans is thinking about restructuring his contract to keep some of their players. Tom Brady will also restructure his contract if he needs to. So this is what I would do if I was Tampa. Now, I don't know how much flexibility they have at their disposal or that they actually have, but if you absolutely have to, the one player I would move on from is Chris Godwin, and here's why. I would want to keep Shaq Barrett over everyone else, okay? If Chris Godwin is the guy you have to let go, if it's between I have to let go Shaq Barrett or I have to let go of Chris Godwin, I would let go of Chris Godwin because they could easily make up another receiver in free agency, okay? Whether that's Edelman or somebody else or a draft pick. They are probably going to have AB back, okay? Scotty Miller's great for them. I love Tyler Johnson as a slot receiver. If they had to let go, as much as I like Chris Godwin, they could get away with letting him go and having a great receiving core with OJ Howard back and all that stuff. Okay? But I would keep Shaq Barrett over everyone else. They also can move on from Fournette if they have to, because I think Ronald Jones is just as good, if not better. And you could add another running back through a multitude of ways. But I would try to keep, I know they're going to keep Gronk and AB because that's the only team they'll play for. Hopefully Sue returns for one more year and keep Levante David. Those would be the things that I would do. So the one player I would get rid of if I had to would be Chris Godwin, because Brady can work with a lot of receivers. Barrett is a pass rusher. It's more difficult to replace. But when you look at this team, there's the possibility they keep everybody. I'm just saying, if they had to get rid of somebody that is going to go for a lot of money, the only two guys that are going to go for a lot of money are the wide receiver and the pass rusher. Everyone else is affordable. But I would say that on paper, they have a very good chance of repeating. Keep this team together and then add a couple pieces here and there for depth. Like, I'd love to see them add depth at the edge, depth at linebacker, depth at corner, depth wherever. Running back, maybe, whatever they want to do. They have a loaded roster. It's not like they have gotten rid of their first round pick or whatever. So they have that, and they're going to get a talent there. So this team has a great chance of repeating. They're probably the best roster entering next year, and they might only get better. So that's the show, guys. That's the show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It was a long one. It was an in-depth one. It was a deep one, but I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, Gronk, spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more NFL. Guys, it is important that you do Gronk spike that like button so more people can find the Bottom Line podcast and can find this show. So please do Gronk spike that like button. It helps that YouTube algorithm get other people to subscribe to my channel, and I'd appreciate that. All right, guys. Yeah, I know Godwin wants to stay with the Bucs. I think he'll try. If he decide, it just depends though. It's really tough. If you're a guy like Chris Godwin, you're in the prime of your career, right? You just won a Super Bowl. If you're offered a bunch of money, you're gonna take it, aren't you? Sue did used to play with them, yes. Nikki says Edelman, White, and Gilmore come to the Bucs. Thank you, Hugo. FE says Gronk and AB will be healthy out of the gate next year. That's true. I could see AB being better next year because of the full offseason to get prepped. Adam says, I don't think the Bucs will repeat. I'm not saying I think they'll repeat, but I think they have a good chance to. Don says that Mitch's favorite team's the Tampa Bay Patriots. Thanks, Derkant. Did I like the halftime show? Thanks for that question, Mr. Singh. Not really. I like The Weeknd, actually. I like him as an artist. But overall, I didn't love it. I thought the sound mixing was off. I didn't find any of his performance particularly exciting. I don't know. I thought he was okay. He wasn't bad, but I wasn't blown away by it. Let's just say that. I like The Weeknd, but it wasn't great for my opinion. Brian, I think that makes sense. What will you say, Ultra? I like how Jacko said goodnight, Asia. Nah, sports fan, I disagree, bro. Eagles stink. I'm sorry, man. See what they do in the offseason. Yes, Ultra, I agree. Well, if you think about it, let's go back. So the Chiefs nearly did, okay? 2017 or 2018 New England, I think they got unlucky more than anything. Honestly, like I said this, but I feel like if they keep AB and Gordon, they probably do win the Super Bowl. But they got to the playoffs at least. Then you have the 2017 Eagles. They were disappointing. They did make the playoffs. There was a boatload of injuries on that team. I don't remember ever saying that they would repeat, though. So, I don't know. Maybe you did or other people did, but I don't remember saying that. The Patriots almost did. They probably should have, but they had a lot of injuries versus the Eagles. So, they probably should have in 16, 17. Basically, what happened every time with the Patriots from 2014 to 2018 was they got hurt. Like, in 2015, it was the game that I just talked about with the Broncos where they had a lot of injuries. 2016 to 2017, they had a lot of injuries. So, like, every time they were able to do it, they just lost because of injuries more than anything else. Even though they still went to the Super Bowl in one of those years and deep into the AFC Championship in one of those years. So, with New England, they were very close. With Kansas City, of course, they made it there, but they were close. Seattle almost did it. They were very close. So I think teams have been closer than we want to give them credit for. You know, like repeating is very hard, but it often seems that if you win the Super Bowl, you are good the next year, though. That does seem to be the case. So at the very least, I think recent history would suggest that teams that win the Super Bowl will at least be in the playoffs. But it's a matter of what you do and how healthy you are in the playoffs once you get there. Is that fair to say? I think that's pretty much the case across the board, other than some retirements. Like with the Ravens, we never said they could repeat because Ray Lewis retired. Ed Reed left. Seattle, obviously, we said they could repeat. 2011, the Giants, everyone knew the Giants are kind of a fluky team every time they win. Packers were 15-1, and they were better in the regular season, lost in the playoffs. So, like, recent history would suggest that the team is actually better in the regular season, and when they come to the playoffs, they lose. That's what it would suggest. But that's just trends, and you never know. So, thanks, guys, for watching. It's been Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Hopefully you enjoyed. Gronk, spike that like button, subscribe, and we will see you very soon for some 2021 NFL content. The last video of the 2020 season was this one, officially. So we're on to 2021. We're on to bigger and better things. Thanks, guys, for supporting me. See you soon. Peace.